just thought you'd like to see some of the other exhibits in the museum, and one of our exhibits that we're quite proud of is our poison dart frog exhibit. We've got a species called Phyllobates terribilis. It's one of the most, well, it's the most poisonous frog in the world. And one of the things that we've done in the museum, particularly with this section of our exhibits, is to actually integrate it with one of our other collections, and that's our Anthropology collection. And if you look closely here, you can see that we've got the darts that the Indians use with the frogs. We'll talk a little bit about mythology, but this particular case focuses on showing the darts that this particular tribe of Indian use. And also we have the panel here that explains all about how the Indians use the darts, and we show the poison dart frog, the information about the poison dart frogs themselves, and then we're able to actually show the frogs themselves in an exhibit. So it all works together really well, and it tells a really nice story from the darts, how the Indians use them, so people being able to actually see the frogs themselves. Now these frogs, they only come from one particular area, and that's a very tiny little area in Colombia, and these are literally the most poisonous frogs in the world. Most poison dart frogs, they get the name from this particular species, and when you keep them in captivity they do lose a lot of the toxins normally. Now this particular species, because it's so dangerous and because it's got such strong toxins in its skin, even if we keep it and we feed on crickets, it still retains some of the inherent venom in its skin. Now it's only in the skin, and to be able to envenomate its prey, the prey needs to eat it, or if you've got a cut or normally a break in the skin, and this venom gets into that, then you really are in serious trouble, and they should be treated quite carefully because they are one of the most dangerous animals in the world. We feed them on crickets, but we still have to use gloves when we handle them, because this particular species, the toxins will actually soak through the skin without cutting the skin. And from a natural history point of view, they're quite interesting. They're one of the few poison dart frogs that actually has teeth, and they tend to spend most of the time actually on the ground rather than climbing around in the treetops, and they're out during the day because they know that no predators are going to touch them because they are literally so poisonous. Now, joining me today, I've got our Curator of Anthropology, Stephen Welsh. And Steve's going to tell us a little bit more about the actual way that the Indians used the poison from the amphibians. But also, I'd just like to show you one of the frogs, because these tiny little frogs, most people don't realise how big they are. They are really small. From a poison dart frog point of view, they are actually quite large. Most poison dart frogs are a lot smaller than this. But here you can see the frog itself, and you can see how wet the skin looks, and that's actually the toxins there. It's secreting. As soon as you disturb these frogs, it starts to secrete this secretion, and they're bright yellow, and they've got quite long fingers and toes. But as I say, they spend most of the time on the ground feeding, and they're not scared of anything. So this is from our exhibit here, and I'm going to pop him back in a minute. But I'd just like to hand you over to Steve, who's going to tell you a little bit more about how they actually use the poison from the frogs.
Yes. Well, we're very lucky in the Anthropology collection of Manchester Museum, because we have almost 16,000 objects, and they cover the entire globe. And here in the Vivarium at Manchester Museum, we've actually got some of them on display. Of particular interest today are these darts here, and this is the container that they would have been carried in. And the darts are from a place in South America called Guyana. And the indigenous peoples there for centuries have actually used darts like this, and used the poison from the frogs that Andrew's just shown you to kill prey such as small primates, monkeys, or birds that live in the canopy in the rainforest. And the reason why this weapon has been so successful in hunting over centuries, thousands of years even, is because the toxins from the frog, once the dart has been launched and it's hit the prey, it has a muscle relaxant in it, so the monkey or the bird, instead of gripping onto the branches, it can't actually do that. So the monkey, once it's been struck, will actually drop from the trees. Now if you were using a rifle or a bow or arrow, once the animal's been struck, there's a potential that you could simply wound it and it will just cling onto a branch, and it won't actually fall from the tree, and so therefore you've lost your prey. So the fantastically intelligent thing about this weapon is by using these toxins, not only do you kill the animal, it will actually fall to the ground. And they're amazingly accurate as well. And I have here an actual blow pipe. Now this one isn't from Guyana, this is from South America, and it's from an area, from a river called the Rio Negro, which is a tributary just to the north of the Amazonian River, the Amazon River. And you can see it's quite simple technology, but absolutely deadly. So this is a piece of cane. They can also be made out of pieces of bamboo or even pieces of palm. But when you look down here at the fatter end, you can see here's where you will have placed your lips, and it's perfectly shaped for somebody's lips to be able to cup around and blow the dart. And when we look as we go along, you can get an idea of the simple length of it as well. If I just pop it over here, this is the museum label, by the way, dangling away here, and you can see just how fine it comes at this end as well, and where the dart itself would actually shoot out. And it's supremely accurate. So actually, if you hold this up, you can poke it through various parts of the canopy or any foliage, and actually get a sight on the prey and then fire. And these are considered so deadly that in 1988 the Criminal Justice Act in the United Kingdom actually outlawed blowpipes as a dangerous offensive weapon. And today they're used in an international competitive sport because blowpipes are found all over the world. They're found in places like Indonesia, Japan, and so it's a real sport today and people actually play it. But surprisingly enough, there's a lot of concern with indigenous communities because of the introduction of globalisation and modernisation, that many indigenous peoples supplant their traditional technology with modern Western technology, so they'll be replaced with cars or rifles. But this is still being used today, and the reason it's still being used today is what I mentioned at the beginning, which is it's supremely accurate and it's absolutely deadly, and it's economic and it's efficient. So you actually don't need to replace this with a rifle, you can keep it as it is. So it's brilliant that we're able to do this work and combine various parts of the museum collection to demonstrate to people the links between the collections we actually have.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Thanks very much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
So if you wanted to come through and see the darts and see the frogs themselves, here we have the display, and if you have a quick look there, you can see one actually hopping around within the tank there. And it's great that we can combine, as Steve says, our collections in this way, and we're hoping to do that more in the future with other collections such as our Egyptology collection and perhaps other areas of zoology. And as I say, if you wanted to come through and have a look and see the frogs for real, then that'd be great.